Are we on the air? But Larry's not here yet. Welcome to Freaky Stories. Tonight...
Hello? How are you?
Who are you?
He's my hand.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him.
Can he really be that dumb? But then... Hey, Maurice, this guy could be your replacement. Let's have a story, okay?
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Norbert, the guy in the school cafeteria nobody would sit next to. I mean, for one thing, Norbert ate with his mouth open, which meant he sprayed you with his lunch whenever he laughed at one of his own stupid jokes. But even worse, Norbert always wanted to trade lunches with you. What's wrong with that? Well, Norbert's lunch was always weird stuff like okra sprouts or tofu burgers. So because of his gross food and even grosser eating habits, Norbert sat alone at table 13 every single day. Until the time Julie sat down beside him. Now, Julie was new, so she didn't know better. I mean, she just saw an empty table and sat down. You see, Julie was a science geek, and as you know, science geeks have no concept of social do's and don'ts, and Norbert was the biggest don't around. Still, Julie was incredibly smart, so everybody knew she'd catch on. Imagine our horror when Norbert showed her a plate full of ostrich stroganoff, and Julie traded him her dessert for it. Yummy Mago bars, some sort of candy that Julie made at home. Everybody was so surprised at what happened. Nobody noticed Julie wasn't actually eating Norbert's lunch. She took her own lunch out of her backpack and quietly ate that instead. The next day, it happened again. Norbert had mentioned that he really liked Julie's candy bars, and Julie showed up with a whole bunch more to trade. She happily accepted his chicken fondue in exchange for them. But again, she ate her own lunch. Everybody figured Julie had the hots for old Norb, and she was making her way to his heart through his stomach. But check this out. One day, Julie didn't arrive on time. Now, a growing boy needs his food, and Norbert was so hungry, he actually ate the lunch that his mother had packed for him. So when Julie finally showed up, he had nothing to trade. And Julie's dessert was Norbert's favorite. So out of desperation, Norbert offered to trade his empty carton of goat's milk and his slimy used paper plate for it. And can you believe it? She agreed. A grotty old paper plate and a milk carton crawling with Norbert's germs. I mean, when Cupid's arrow hit her, did it go right through her brain? Well, Norbert was a few clowns short of a circus, but even he knew a good thing when he saw it. So every day, he ate his real lunch at recess, and then traded whatever junk he could find for Julie's lunch. And I'm talking real crud here. Norbert gave her old banana peels, used paper napkins, and even the janitor's floor sweepings from the cafeteria. And Julie would take the stuff, smile and giggle, and give Norbert more of those amazing Mago bars. Love sure is strange. Now you'd think that out of appreciation, Norbert would take some time out to talk to Julie, or at least thank her. But Norbert was so busy stuffing his face that he barely said 2 words to her. And even then, he spritzed her with his food. But Julie didn't seem to mind. She would just smile and giggle and keep working on her secret project for the school science fair. All she would say when Norbert asked about it was, "You'll see, you'll see." And when the day of the science fair came, boy, did he see. It was held right after lunch period in the cafeteria. The janitor was trying to clean things up before the fair started, and Norbert just wouldn't move from his table until he finished eating his Mago bars. That is, until he saw her science project. "Thanks for being my guinea pig," she grinned. And as she raised the curtain on her invention, Norbert nearly choked on his Mago bar because he saw that Julie's machine recycled the maggots from his garbage into candy bars. This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Norbert. Norbert and Julie eventually got married. Only now, Norbert does all the cooking.
Oh man, I love this job. And now they're gonna replace me.
This is a true story. Happened to a friend of mine in the next cell. Slippery Sam. Sam had been robbing banks for 20 years and never got caught. Other thieves were in awe of his track record and asked, "Sam, what's your secret?" Sam would smugly reply, "I'm smarter than the law, see? I ain't never going to jail." But like they say, never ever say never. You see, Sam made 3 mistakes. His first mistake was getting too confident. All by his lonesome, he decided to take on the largest bank in the city. This was a bank with all the latest high-tech surveillance equipment, every bell and whistle you can think of. Sam had a friend who worked for the bank and made a deal with him to split the loot if he cut the surveillance wires. Mistake number 2, never trust no one, especially a guy they call Chicken. Yeah, that's right, instead of cutting the wires, Chicken hightailed it out of town. So Sam walked into the bank and made like he had a gun and said, "Your money or your life, see?" Everyone was in a state of panic. 2 bank tellers started to hand over the money in the vault. But one of the tellers said to Sam, "You are not going to get away with this." Sam laughed. "Oh yeah?" he said. "Like who's going to stop me, see?" Teller said, "Our cameras will," and pointed to the surveillance camera. Sam said, "Your cameras are no good. They're dead, see? Dead, yeah." Sam even danced in front of the cameras, which, as we know now, were very much alive. So there was Sam for all to see, which the cops did. They found him easy enough, which is real easy when you brag. The officers cuffed him and said, "This is the end of Slippery Sam." Sam was shocked. Court day came, wouldn't you know? Sam had the toughest judge in the county, hanging Harry Hartless. The judge slammed his gavel and said, "This'll be the end of Slippery Sam. I'll never see your face in my court again." He sentenced Sam to 20 years in prison. But even that did not discourage Sam. He was not about to waste away in a jail cell for the next 20 years. You see, Slippery Sam had a plan. Every night when the lights went out in the jail and the guards and the prisoners were sleeping, Sam used pilfered kitchen utensils to slowly but surely dig himself a tunnel. During the day, he was a model prisoner. The guards loved him. The other prisoners played checkers with him, and he never even cheated. But the cook in the cafeteria found it very strange that before every meal, he asked for additional spoons, knives, and forks. But Sam claimed, "They don't call me Slippery for nothing, see?" He said his silverware slipped out of his hand. Still, the stone in his prison cell was so thick and hard it took years and years to make a dent in it. But Slippery was not about to give up. He dug spoonful by spoonful, forkful by forkful, and even though it ain't easy to eat your peas with your knife, Sam picked out pebbles and dirt with his, day after day, week after week, month after month. Oh yeah, and year after year after year, 19 years and 11 months to be exact. So with a month to go on his sentence, why would Sam keep digging? Mistake number 3, never try to prove you're smarter than the law, but his pride was stronger than his common sense. With his broken-down spoon, he wedged loose the last stone keeping him from his freedom. The stone came loose, and he struggled to push it aside. He saw a beam of light coming through. He knew this was his ticket to freedom. He said to himself, "Slippery Sam, you've not lost your touch." Yeah. He could not believe his eyes. Standing before him were 4 police officers and Judge Hanging Harry Heartless, the judge who put him away. That's right, he had dug himself right into the judge's courtroom. This is a true story. Happened to a friend of mine in the next cell, Slippery Sam, who has just taken up knitting. I wonder how long it'll take him to knit a rope long enough to get out of this joint.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here's our next freaky story.
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine. We called him Ferd. Yeah, quite the moniker. You see, his real name was Fred, but for some reason, everyone called him Ferd. Anyway, Ferd was my boss, manager of aircraft maintenance over at the International Airport where I work. Now, we didn't handle the engines or avionics stuff aboard the big jet, no. Our company did the service maintenance. You know, cleaned out the toilets, dumped the waste, that sort of thing. Now, Ferd's angle was that he was always trying to cut expenses and pocket the savings for himself. And I have to admit, he was aces at it. He'd built himself a veritable palace out by the airport. You see, what Ferd did was cut corners. For instance, when we went to refill the liquid soap, Ferd told us to fill her up only halfway. But then he'd turn around and bill the airline for a full container and pocket the half bottle of soap savings for himself. Now, the cost of 1 bottle of soap may not sound like much to you, but multiply that by 150 airplane toilets a day, 365 days a year, and it starts to add up. You get the picture? Or when we dump out an airplane's waste tank, Ferd told us to pump out only half. He figured he'd let the poor sucker at the other airport take care of the rest for the return trip. Pretty cool thinking. But Ferd wasn't making too many friends at the other airports. So, anyhow, one day Ferd hears that there's a new VP of operations been hired for one of his airline clients. Now, Ferd figures that the best way to grease this guy's wheel is to throw him a fancy party. Sort of a welcome. Yeah, sorry. And Ferd, being Ferd, he does it on the cheap. First of all, instead of getting it catered, he snagged a load of airline food. Not the kind of food that you or I would eat if we were to take a trip somewheres, but the good stuff from the first class compartment. And instead of hiring waiters and waitresses, he shanghaied a flight crew of stewardesses. It seems he made some kind of threat about not filling the drinking water tanks before a trans-Pacific flight. Whatever it was, it sure worked. He had the whole crew in his backyard serving hors d'oeuvres. So, the big day arrives. Ferd and his guests are milling around his pool. The airline food has been scraped out of its trays and arranged neatly on platters in serve-yourself buffet. Those airline poobahs were having a great time. And I have to admit, the coolest thing was that Ferd's house was located right at the end of the airport's runway, so that every plane as it landed swooped right down low over his house. So, Ferd's talking up that new VP of operations when the VP looks up at an incoming jet. He says, huh? That's one of ours. Well, what do you know, says Ferd. So it is. But what Ferd and the new VP of operations didn't know was that this particular jumbo jet was coming in on a return trip from Paris, France. And furthermore, that the manager of aircraft maintenance at the airport in Paris, France, was none too happy with Ferd's habit of sending half-full tanks of waste to him, and was now playing a little trick of his own. You see, the waste tanks of this jumbo jet were full to the point of bursting. And wouldn't you know it, that's what they did. Bombs away! 1,600 pounds of putrid waste right into Ferd's swimming pool, just as the new VP of operations was demonstrating his diving technique to a pretty little stewardess. Hey, it's a true story. It happened to a friend of mine. Oh, and Ferd, no, he doesn't work at the airport anymore. He's gone into the fertilizer business.
He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's.
May I have the next dance?
Anyone care for a slightly used sidekick?
Why are you laughing? You're next. Huh? Here's the next freaky story.
Why, you...
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine. Ever live in a frat house? Now, I don't mean one of those yuppie ones you see on TV sometimes, where all the guys dress in loafers and call each other Biff. I mean a real frat house, with vermin-infested laundry heaped next to stacks of pizza boxes, last year's New Year's Eve decorations rotting off the ceiling, and some excuse for a housemaid affectionately referred to as the Mooch. But at Delta Delta Pylon, we just called him Lester. Well into his 5th year majoring in primitive basket arts, Lester survived by stealing the last slice of pizza here, pilfering a couple of clean socks there, and using whatever shampoo, shaving cream, and deodorant some other frat brother was fool enough to leave unguarded. We even wondered if he owned his own toothbrush. But soon after Christmas one year, when Lester had already thieved, pinched, and scoffed every shortbread cookie, mincemeat tart, and dried-up old fruitcake care package he could find, the cupboards suddenly went bare. You see, most of the Deltas took to sleeping with their food supplies, which made midnight snacking a bit of a trick for Lester. Even his ability to belch Einstein's theory of relativity failed to convince the others he was worth tossing a stale donut to. Lester might have been okay. He might have restrained himself. But then he heard this sound coming from way down in the kitchen. Someone was sifting through the pots and pans, rummaging through the cupboards, making the electric can opener moan and wheeze and grind. He knew instantly. The drooling of his mouth and the twitching of his nose told Lester that Roger was making his famous tuna, wiener, and leftovers casserole. It was never exactly the same twice, but always sure to please him. Late that night, Lester snuck downstairs, deftly stepping over Bud in the front hall, who hadn't quite made it up to his bed after a night of revelry, and slipped into the pitch black of the kitchen. The refrigerator hadn't had a working light bulb since Fred the freshman ate the last one as a hazing ritual. But this didn't deter Lester. No, he knew the insides of that treasure chest of pilferable plunder like the back of his thieving hand. He identified the jumbo mustard in an instant, shoved it aside to seize the yogurt container behind, and sat right down on the cold, hard linoleum to enjoy his filched feast. The tuna was a little mushier than usual, the weenies a little bit on the gamey side, and there were the odd crunchy bits Lester assumed were over microwave meatball crust, but delicious nonetheless. In moments, Lester had gobbled the last of his lifted midnight snack and was back in his bed so fast the albacore aftertaste had yet to fade. Happy, content, if only he had known. Hours later, all seemed fine. Loitering around the kitchen next morning in the hopes of abandoned breakfast scraps, Lester's fellow frats went about their business and didn't suspect a thing. Even Roger had rummaged through the near-empty refrigerator for nearly 5 minutes in search of a banana he put there last spring and never noticed his missing tuna a la king. Lester was sure his crime would go undetected when suddenly Irving, the pre-med, hauled himself into the kitchen, stuck his head in the fridge, and started to scream. Where was his lab container? Where were his rats' heads? Those mealworms had been cleaning the brains out of those skulls for days, and they were almost done. But it was only when Lester spotted Roger's leftovers container sticking out of his knapsack that it really sunk in what he'd done. He made a meal of mealworms. He crunched on rat craniums. He noshed on rodent nuggets. This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine. Lester still lives at the frat, of course. But now he majors in macrobiotics with a minor in long-term fasting.
The rumor in the cockroach community...
You have a community?
Yeah, and guess who the mayor is, wise guy? It is said that you do an amazing magic trick. Well, I guess you can't keep talent like mine a secret.
Oh, yeah? Well, let's see this big trick of yours.
Okay, bring it on, boys. Check this out, Maurice. Okay, abracadabra and oive ismir. Spirit of magic, make the bag disappear. Huh? What do you think about that?
Big deal.
Oh.
Anybody could do that trick. Anybody, even me.
Oh, yeah? I'd like to see you try.
Okay, get behind the curtain.
All right, I'll do that. Okay. All set?
Abracadabra and whatever he said, spirit of magic, make Larry disappear!
See you next time.